Hello everybody, this is Dave Meyer with BizzyWeb. Thank you for joining us for our Busy Webinar today. We're going to talk about image networks, Pinterest, Houzz, Vine, and Instagram, and get you all set up on those networks with what you need to know in order to do some business on all of those networks. If you need to share imagery or if you need to share ideas or moving pictures, each of these four networks is a great option to get folks excited and engaged about your brand. They're not necessarily as built out or as business-centric as some of the other ones, in particular LinkedIn or Facebook, Google+, and to an extent Pinterest or Twitter all have specific business-related topics and help on them, but these ones are kind of more authentic and gentle as far as the way you can interact with folks. And there are some sponsorship ideas and other things, but you'll see as we go through here that there's a lot more that you can do in sharing moving pictures and kind of reaching different audiences using any of these tools. So we'll get after that and we'll connect up as we go through. As we do, I'll go through a couple of things here. We'll talk a little bit about us, and then we're going to go through the primer on image networks. We're going to talk about Pinterest, then Vine, then Instagram, then Houzz, and we'll take Q&As during the event and after the event. So we're going to be talking for about 30 minutes here about each of these four networks. And then at the end, we're going to open up the lines to the folks that have either dialed on to the call via Google Hangout or to folks that have asked in questions as we've gone. We normally do these in person, but we had a minor scheduling issue, and so we had to keep this solely over the web. So thanks in particular for Mark for changing around your schedule a little bit, and sorry we couldn't have you over. But next week we will be talking in full force and have everybody over again for our regularly scheduled Buzz Builders and Busy Webinars for an in-person discussion on Google My Business, which is a new tool that Google has allowed us to use to help centralize all of our Google-related activities for business. It's going to be super fun and should be really interesting. For folks that do want to join us, if you're watching live over the Hangout, I'll go through that in just a second here, but if you're watching live, you can join us at BizzyWeb.com/BB, click on the article and click into the actual Hangout. We have a couple of folks on that Hangout right now. Or if you'd like to just ask questions, you can either go to BizzyWeb.com and scroll down to the article for the day, and that's in the lower left corner just like this. And so if you see a article down in the corner, click on that. You'll get an embedded video. You can click on that embedded video. If you click on it again, it'll take you into the actual Google Plus page for the events, and there's a Q&A tool that's out there that'll let you ask questions as we go. So feel free to ask those questions, and we'll cover those in line as we run. And for the other folks, if you're on the actual Hangout, feel free to chat in questions as we go, because we want to make sure that we're actioning those as we run. Everybody's hidden until the second half of the call, so just want to keep everybody's privacy concerns set up and keep as purposeful as possible as we go through our event today. Let's skip on ahead and we'll talk about who we are and what we do. BizzyWeb is an online marketing company specializing in WordPress-powered web design and setting up social networks for our clients so that it integrates into a cohesive and holistic online marketing tool set. So when you publish via your WordPress and BizzyWeb powered website through us, that post can get published to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, and I believe we can now publish to Instagram as well through our tools. So with one click, you get as much of a reach as possible, and when you free up that time, that actually helps you to use some of that time that you save to dig in and do more interactive touch points on each of those networks. You can just pick a day a week or pick 1 day per account per week to dig in and do more integrated interactions to talk to folks and to build more networks. If you're not chasing and trying to publish everything everywhere all the time, that time savings can really help you to grow your business. What these look like, of course, the big four: Google Plus from front to back, Facebook and the brand new Facebook design, of course, LinkedIn and the new LinkedIn design, and Twitter and the new Twitter design. All of these have changed up in the last 2 months, so there's all kinds of new stuff out there, and if you haven't changed your accounts, it may be time to connect with BizzyWeb to ask us to have you or to help you out, or of course go back through our BizzyWebinar/BuzzBuilders library to check out how each of these may be done, because we've done specials on all 4 networks in the past 2 months to announce and to help you update and change your account look and feel along with it. In particular with Twitter and Facebook, if you haven't paid any attention to your account in a while, everything's changed and your account probably looks pretty weird right now. So go ahead and check it out and make sure that you're changing that up. Let's get right into the business of the day and talk about one of the favorite networks for a lot of folks, Pinterest. Pinterest is really a virtual pin board. It's a virtual scrapbook of sorts. And so if you log into Pinterest, and I'll talk a little bit more about what it does, the 70 million people that are active on Pinterest every week, or every month I should say, log in and they create pin boards of different content and information. The folks on Pinterest tend to be female, and actually 20% of all internet using women have an account on Pinterest, which is pretty amazing. Folks tend to be middle-aged or so. Don't tell us that, but 35 to 44-year-olds are the largest group on Pinterest, and so it tends to be family-related things or interesting stuff for folks in that type of area. More shares than LinkedIn and Google Plus combined. I got this stat off of Social Biz, I believe. And as we go through this, you can see that of people that are sharing things on the web, of course, with a massive market share, Facebook is the largest account for sharing, but Twitter comes in second, and then Pinterest covers more than LinkedIn, Google Plus, and all others combined. So we're looking at a lot of network share there, and things are looking really good for folks that are on Pinterest and that are sharing. It's interesting and easy to share content on Pinterest, and we'll go through that in a little bit, but it's super, super easy once you get the hang of it to pin content and share content for your business and to have that visual imagery, whether it be videos or actual images, show up and help drive traffic to your site. Caveat there is that you have to actually be interesting, but we'll get into that in a moment. So when you set it up, a pin is really an image or a video that's shared from your PC or via your iOS or Android device. You can go through and use the apps and or the boards on Pinterest or the web version of Pinterest. You just click, it's essentially a bookmarklet, and so there's a little pin it button that you'll have on your browser after you set it up. Or a lot of savvy website owners now have placed a pin it button on their accounts or on their websites so that you can go ahead and pin content right from there. This is brilliant and wonderful for e-commerce. And so as you build things and as you're reaching out and connecting, if you have a lot of visually arresting things or things that people might be interested in sharing or pinning to their scrapbook, then you've got a great Pinterest strategy. BizzyWeb, for example, posts examples of our website designs. We publish infographics and other things that our clients might find interesting. Frankly, all of these networks that I'm covering today, BizzyWeb doesn't use a lot, or I don't use a lot personally. I'm familiar with all of them and I've tinkered with all of them, but from a business user's perspective, I like to focus on the big 4 as much as possible because that's where the most bang for my buck is. But for clients that have specific issues or interests, especially if you're a crafty type of person or if you're a company that serves the craft market or other imagery type markets, so if you're a photographer, for example, having a Pinterest board would be very, very cool and could drive a ton of traffic for you. So the big thing there is, of course, to be interesting and to share your content as you're driving across. As you create your account, it's simple to do, and with all of these networks, I'm only going to cover this once on Pinterest because it's the same for everybody else. You log in using either your social account or, if allowed, an email address, and a lot of these do integrate directly with Facebook or Twitter, so you just log in with that account, fill out your profile, and of course take the time to make your profile as interesting as possible. Once you build that profile, there's a simple button to click it over and to transfer it over to a business board. Or if you go to business.pinterest.com, you'll actually be able to set up a website or a pin board from scratch on your business. You still have to have a Pinterest account in order to manage it, similar to the way Facebook and Google Plus work. You have to have a personal account in order to drive content across on your business boards, but you get to post as your business via that board. So go ahead and create some boards, tinker around with it. I would get used to Pinterest as a person before you start publishing as a business. Just give you a little bit less exposure and protects your brand a little bit while you're getting the hang of it. And then you can add that bookmarklet and get going on your pins. Be careful and be thoughtful about what you're sharing. You, for example, probably don't want to share a lot of your competitors' content unless you want to drive traffic to your competitors. But the idea here is to kind of curate content and interesting items, ideally that are covered on your own website, that will help you to drive traffic to those places. So that's kind of the ethos of Pinterest and all of these networks actually, is to share things that are interesting to help drive traffic back to you. There's a new feature that's out now. You can browse by interest. There's a little drop-down tab in the upper left corner of Pinterest when you log in as a person, and you can now browse by videos, place boards, health and fitness, tattoos, technology, illustrations and posters, etc. So once you get action into those, just think about that and start filling up your content to match some of those boards, because now there's a universal way to drive those pins in rather than just people searching. So you can browse by topic now instead of just kind of footing around as you go and clicking into the boards and the curated content of everyone. And it's up to them as to what they do. So this kind of helps level the playing field across everyone, and you have a much better chance of being found if your categories fall inside of these universal categories versus just kind of showing up in searches. Business pages, we covered this a little bit, but go to business.pinterest.com. Convert existing account if you already have one and you want to switch it over, or just go ahead and start a new account and then load up your logo, get your information on there. You can grab stuff from Facebook or Twitter and get pinning. So once you get that all set up, you've got a separate account that you can now manage. You need to log in as yourself on Pinterest in order to edit as a board or edit as a business, but once you get that set up, it's really pretty simple as far as how it all works and what you need to do. For business, make sure that it's a fit, and this is the same for all of these networks. So make sure that you're actually doing something or can share something that's visually interesting. If you're going to publish on any of these networks, you have to think about the media that they focus on. This is video or pictures that they're highlighting. So you have to actually be, or you have to have content that relates to that, and that's actually going to stand a chance versus the competition of other folks that are very creative in publishing things out. This is another example of where you need to browse a lot and get used to a network, get a feel for how people post and interact before you start digging in. If you're an accountant, none of these might work for you all that well unless you have a lot of factoids or a lot of interesting facts or things that you can do, perhaps by going into canva.com, which is a great infographic creation tool that's free. They keep their logo on everything, and it'll link back, but very handy for creating interesting tidbits of information. If you've got slides or shares or anything like that, then Pinterest or any of these visual networks might be an interesting tool for you. Especially once we start getting into the other networks, we're going to talk about other creative techniques that you can use and limitations inside of the network. But make sure that you're connecting up and thinking about what you want to do so that it's as visual as possible and as interesting as possible. Otherwise, you may just want to focus on the other big networks. Like if you're going to share a lot of stats, or if you're just going to share a lot of news or narrative copy information, unless you're going to do a video about it or a podcast, or a video podcast, I should say, you're not going to get a lot of traction on any of these networks. So make sure that it's visual more than anything. And you don't want to just promote products. You want to post information, news, tips, thoughts. You just have to present that in a graphical form. So there's a lot of tools out there that will let you do that. You just need to think about all of your imagery and all of your sharing from a dynamic standpoint, from a visual standpoint first and foremost. And then check out all the big names and see how they're using it. Coca-Cola is doing a pretty great job. Interestingly enough, with Pinterest, since it's 80% females that are using it, Harley-Davidson has a huge following on Pinterest. I've actually seen stats that say that women tend to get repinned more often, but men's boards tend to get followed more often. So that's interesting. There's just a higher. It's an interesting trade-off. The guys that are on Pinterest tend to be very loyal to the boards that they follow, whereas the women that collect pins and follow boards tend to follow more often and a broader range of folks on Pinterest. So make sure you're taking that into account and look for opportunities to specifically engage your market. If you're looking for, or if your main client is a 20-something male that is heavily into architecture or into carpentry or into something else, then maybe a different network would be a better fit. The trick is you won't know until you try, and you won't know until you check out and review what others in your industry might be doing. Just because someone is doing something doesn't mean you shouldn't do anything, but you're going to have to kind of forge new waters and figure out what you can do to be different or to gather that attention that you can't otherwise fit or find. So that's Pinterest. Let's talk about Vine. Vine is a very interesting little tool. It's very fun and can be super helpful and viral. If you have a lot of viral or very interesting content, something that's going to fit into 6 seconds or less, it's very helpful and can be pretty darn interesting. It's a tool that's owned by Twitter, so it integrates very well into Twitter. And you'll notice that almost everything on Twitter has a hashtag revolving around it. So, or everything that gets viral on Twitter, on Vine, is shared via Twitter, via hashtags. So think about the hashtags that you want to collect or connect with, and then be sure to publish inside of there. Now, there is a desktop application or a desktop integration on Vine, but really, the next two accounts that I'm going to be talking about, Vine and Instagram, are really intended to be handled almost exclusively on mobile devices. You're on your iPhone or your Android primarily in order to publish any of these. So most of the time you'll just be on there and publishing as you go. The interface, while a little bit tricky to display over a web browser because we don't really have the same interaction capability that we would if we just had our phone up, is you hold down the button on Vine, and as you hold down your button, it's recording video off of your phone, and then when you do, it publishes out, and you get to save it, you can edit it, you can go back through and change frames. Interestingly enough, it'll do concurrent sessions where you have to select that you're done in order to be done with the video, and then you can apply filters to it. So you'll see a lot of visual trickery or a lot of stop animation style shares on Vine and Instagram actually, because when you hold it down it records, and when you let up it doesn't. So you could, for example, show yourself eating an ice cream cone or something, or there's a lot of folks that do, there's one guy on Vine that does just gets a tremendous amount of shares and virality by just publishing silly magic tricks or silly animations that he creates through this tool. And so if you do that, and if you're good at sharing and have a lot of really interesting content, you have to think about what you want to do, because this is truly the same thing almost as a tweet, where it's very, very limited in size and scope. You get 6 seconds, and those 6 seconds loop as you go back and forth, so you have to kind of make it tell a story and make it very interesting as you bridge across. I'm seeing that we're getting some chats in here, so I'm going to switch over to the chat tool. The magic trick guy is super funny, and actually, okay, Mark says he's got to take off, so thank you very much, Mark, for joining us, and we'll see you in the next Buzz Builders webinar. So I'm switching back over to the Q&A tool. Reminders for the viewers that are on, if you do have a question, just use that Q&A app, and if you're watching live from our broadcast on BizzyWeb.com on the post page, you can click on that video twice to get into the actual YouTube page, or you can click on the links right underneath the embedded video to join us on the YouTube Hangout. And then very prominently on the site, it'll say live in the upper corner in a yellow button. You can click on that, and it'll actually take you into the Q&A tool so that you can ask us questions, and we'll answer those as we go. Continuing on with Vine, as you go, you just have to think about this being a very viral, very short, very interesting, and by viral I mean something that's likely to or intended to be shared by a lot of people. And it's just a very limited tool that forces you to be a lot more creative in what you do. So think about that and think about how it might work. As we go, clicking back on the account here, and we're going to get into a brief demo on all of these. Instagram is our next account, and Instagram is like Vine, but also includes pictures. Instagram actually introduced videos as a response to Vine video, and so it's a second follower for video on Instagram, but it's an easy tool to share imagery and connections. So there's 200 million monthly active users. As you would imagine, this has something to do with being owned by Facebook, but it's got a massive following, and as you're actually able to do quite a bit of stuff on the web-based version or on the online-based version. When you go into the business account on Instagram, you can actually promote your Instagram shares across Facebook and other networks. As we bridge this and build it, you'll see that the more you share and the more you integrate, while the web interface is frankly relatively weak, and you can see an example of that in the background on this image. There's a lot of folks that are sharing a lot of really interesting things on Instagram, and you can comment on those posts, you can connect back and forth. That's probably the main reason I use Instagram on the web, is just way easier to type on a computer than it is on an iPhone or an Android. And so it's just that's how I interact when I am making posts or when I'm making comments on posts. 23% of teens claim Instagram as their favorite social network. That's really powerful for folks that are trying to reach that younger network. And so we have some clients that are tooling around with Instagram because they're trying to reach those folks, the kids. And so trampoline parks or tanning salons or smaller companies that specifically cater to the youth market would be well served to try both Vine and Instagram, but Instagram also allows you to do images and promote things, and it kind of carries the weight of Facebook. So it's probably a good next place to go if you want to bridge out and cover additional content. So photos and videos. The videos are up to 15 seconds, and they don't loop. You can add filters just like you can on Vine, and just like you can on Instagram with images. The filters are slightly different in interaction as you go through them versus pictures, but it's a pretty streamlined interface. You'll either just click video or image, click the button, and just like you would on Vine, you can hold down the button and release the button to pause the recording, so you can do before and after. You can edit and kind of include or self-edit your accounts or your Instagram posts, and makes it very simple. You can sponsor posts, and if you go to business.instagram.com, there's a good online deal that shares with you how you can reach out on that visual medium. To compare Vine versus Instagram, there's a lot of stuff that you do on both networks, but as you look at these, the video length is 15 seconds versus 6. With Instagram, you have the ability to do filters and delete clips. With Instagram, you can't do that. You cannot import videos on either of them. You can use the front-facing camera on both. Instagram actually has a neat little image stabilization filter that'll help you out. You can't do drafts on either one, but you can save your items to the camera roll on your device when you're building them.
So the first area that I'm going to focus on is in productivity. And really over the last year, one of the things that we tried to do was remove a lot of...
All right, so continuing on, just had a minor hiccup there with some folks showing up. Muted out Mark. So as we go through here, we're building out, you can share all of this stuff as you go through, and that helps you to bridge across and increase the virality or the share worthiness of your account. If you share on Instagram, you can do Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Flickr, email, and Foursquare, and you're just limited to the big two on Vine. You can't loop on Instagram, but you do loop on Vine. You can embed on both now. Actually, that's a new update since this TechCrunch post came out. You can geotag and build things across. It's pretty handy. And then, of course, the photo mapping and details on there is very, very simple. So as we build and bridge, very, very easy to bridge across. So thank you very much, and we'll continue on here. Sorry, I had a little bit of a weird connection on here. So as we bridge over, here I'm going to pause for just one moment. Sorry about that. Had somebody walk into the office. There you go. With Houzz is just like Pinterest, but for your business. So, or for the construction and kind of housing industry. So this is brilliant for decorating ideas and bedroom ideas, decorations or remodeling, pushing out landscaping ideas. It's really cool for all of those folks. So for contractors, remodelers, and homeowners, you know, from the contracting, remodeling, or real estate industry, you can publish great ideas, great thoughts, or progress on your accounts that are a huge help for folks. And that helps you to bridge across for the 20 million people that are using Houzz on a regular basis. Instead of pin boards, you're going to post everything into idea books. And one of the benefits of Houzz is that it's specifically around the construction kind of housing industry. And so you can draw things in and kind of make this into your idea books or your central repository for ideas that you would want to do. So if you're shopping for a home or looking to build a home, you know, I wish I would have had this 10 years ago when I was building my house, but it's a super easy way for you to manage and put together all the design ideas and then share that with others. So, you know, a husband and wife could share their idea book boards and share those back and forth and then rate those ideas so that they understand what they're looking for and what they're sharing for all of these. So super, super easy and simple, and can be very, very fun for you. So let's go into a brief demo here, and I just wanted to show you a little bit about these online networks. And we just have a couple of minutes, so as we go in, we'll connect up and bridge that. So I'm going to stop sharing here for just one moment on my account or on my Hangout, and then I'm going to start up sharing again on a different window. So as we go, here we are. So here's more detail. Again, and as we build this up, we've got on the account, when you go to BizzyWeb.com, the best way to interact with us and to join us live on the Hangout after the second section here is to bridge over and to click on the article for the day, which is right here. So if you click on this link, you'll go into this video. You'll note that the video is embedded on here. If you actually click this on YouTube, it's going to join you up and you'll be able to look at that video, and then there's going to be a little interactive post on here. And you'll see that there's a Google Hangout link right here. This will actually help you to join the Hangout and chat back and forth with us, which would be super handy. And you're welcome to do that with us here. If you go to our Google Plus page, you can actually join live and ask those questions. And I'll show you this for just a second. It says Q&A and live on this video. So again, if you click this button, you can ask us questions. And if you have a burning desire to ask something that you want to know about, now is the your chance to do that while I finalize and go through the final details on our accounts. This is an overview of kind of what Pinterest looks like. And again, Pinterest is kind of 50-50 web and mobile. So you can follow boards. You know, if you go to Pinterest for Business or business.pinterest.com, that's a great way to get started. To business.pinterest.com. Again, you can join as a business and just connect up. Or like I mentioned before, if you already have an account and you want to use that as your business account, you can just click the convert button And as long as you're logged into that account, you can just switch it right over to a business account. There's all kinds of details and tools that you can do on here. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but you can just see how things work and how things interact. It's very handy and easy. Vine, if you import or include Vine on your iOS device or your Android device, here's the iOS page, and you can see examples of what Vine looks like on the background here. And then if you go to the Vine homepage at vine.co, no, not vine.com, it's vine.co, you can see that you can browse through all of these vines, and when you hover your mouse over them, they autoplay. And you can see this is a 6-second long video, so you can see people doing this. When you click on them, by default it's muted, and as you're browsing around, but you can listen to the audio just by tapping on that actual item. Same thing with Instagram. You can browse through and look at videos and images as you go through. Like I mentioned before, this is a much more limited version of a experience than the other networks that we've shared. But there's a really nice business page. If you just go to business.instagram.com, you'll see the details on here. So actually, let me type that back in again. And as you go into business.instagram.com, there's all kinds of details on how to get started and use Instagram for your business and to grow. It highlights Ben & Jerry's and Levi's, so check them out and see what you want to do on that. Same thing with Houzz. As you bridge across on here, you can browse by kitchen, bath, bedroom, kids, office, storage, exterior lighting, and all kinds of other stuff. But if you're really interested in, let's go into home electronics. Gadgets are always fun. You can just bridge that out, and then if I wanted to add that, I would click the public or click the Save to Idea Book. And once I do that, it's going to grab it. You can add what you like on this photo. You can share it to Facebook. You can make your comment private if you don't want to see this. This would only be to people that you specifically share. And you can create new idea books. As you can see, I don't do a ton on Houzz yet, but that's one of the things that we're going to be building as we continue to grow our contractor and construction market. That's what we've got. I'm going to swap sharing over. Very brief demo, of course. So let's switch back over and let's just wrap up and get us over to the Q&A section. You'll see my screen go dark for just a moment, and then we're going to get back over to our presentation. And so in summary, to wrap up, just remember that BizzyWeb can handle all this stuff for you. We do web design and development, and we build our designs to integrate seamlessly with social media. We back that up with the best dang hosting in the business. We do, for WordPress, the best hosting in the business, I should say, where we build it so that you're automatically backed up. We monitor and maintain your site, including scanning nonstop for scammers and for hackers to make sure that nobody gets into your website that isn't supposed to and isn't doing crazy things. And if you do happen to have an issue, if something happens, or if you mess something up on your own site, then we will go back to the backups that we take every single day on your site to help you stay up without any interruptions. We automatically upgrade our plugins and WordPress software as necessary for security, and basically you're working with real people that will actually help you to continue to grow and build your business and make sure that it's all set up. There are companies out there, one-in-one, DreamHost, HostGator, whatever. Basically, any of those $10 a month accounts will give you $10 a month service. You're going to be in trouble if you ever have an issue. They claim that they have 24/7 backups and support. What they mean is if you actually have a server outage where thousands of companies all go down at the same time, they'll help out with that. But they're not going to help you with your individual website. We include 3 hours of service and support, personalized service and support. We'll actually help you and walk you through things if you have problems, and that's built right into every BizzyWeb hosting account. We build optimized websites for social content. We do SEO and SEM, and we have a brand new Buzz Builders series or solution that we're going to be announcing in the next month or so. That's going to be just fantastic, so I can't wait to really announce that. Again, remember that we're going to be talking about Google My Business next week, and so join us every Wednesday for those items. Our BizzyWebinars are free every Wednesday. To get the max benefit, we'd love to have you stop on by if you do register. For the first month or so of these in-person ones, we're doing a free lunch, and then we'll have probably once a month we're going to do free lunch versions. Otherwise, it's brown bag, bring your own, and we'd love to have you over and answer your questions. The more we can help you, the better off everybody seems to be. So we love having these. You're welcome to join us every week. For max benefit, though, of course, be sure to register at BizzyWeb.com/BB to watch these events and to keep it going. We post all of these on YouTube, so just go to BizzyWeb.com/buzz-builders or shortcut BB to check out our archive of all of these and to see what's coming up next. Finally, if you'd like to get more information about where you are online and how you might do better, check out our Buzz report. We provide a 12-page report that'll outline how you're doing in search engine optimization, how your website is set up to gather and collect customers or whatever your goals are for your website, how your social media is looking, and then give you real-world advice and recommendations on what to do next. So you can take that to your current provider, or of course, we'd love it if you'd work with us. This is a free service offered exclusively through Buzz Builders and the BizzyWebinar series. So would love to have you check that out. If you'd like, just go to BizzyWeb.com/buzz for more info. Thank you very much. I am Dave Meyer with BizzyWeb. Would love to have you on with us next week and talk about Google My Business and centralize all of your Google accounts. Until then, though, have a fantastic week. And remember, at BizzyWeb, we help you generate buzz without getting stung. Have a great week.